This league is more competitive. No, this league is the more competitive one. And on and on and on it goes. So why don't we take a look at which leagues offer the most competition, that are the most enjoyable to watch due to their competition. Hey fellas, I'm Adrian, and by the way, welcome to Rabona TV. We're doing something a little different today. We're going to do a tier list, yes. You know I can't just drop an opinion though. Just drop some PNGs in different tiers and call it a day. No, sir. We go a little deeper. I'll use some numbers. The magic of mathematics, as I am a proud carrier of a high school level math knowledge, a math whiz, if you will. So we'll do this lighthearted video today. And on Friday, you can look to something special with a sort of history-esque video. But since we're basically on our way, if you're one of those people that has been watching but hasn't subscribed, let's change that. It's free. It feels good to sub, and I hear that it grants you incredible luck in your life, similar to Carlo Pinsoglio of Juve, the man who is eternally the third keeper at the club, just along for the ride and happy to gas up the people ahead of him. I'm jealous of that guy. He's made 4 appearances since returning to Juve in 2017-18 season, 1 appearance per season. That's a good life, man. You get to hang with the boys, travel all over the world, make a great salary. Sign me up. I too can be a great presence in the dressing room, as great as my math skills. But anyway, shout out to all the Pinsoglios out there. First off, our tiers will go from S, the tippity top, to D, the absolute basement, an unfinished basement at that, with a ton of cobwebs, some water infiltration issues. So how we're gonna do this? This isn't an exact science, guys. This isn't definitive, and what I say is written in stone as the only truth that can be accepted. Of course, the secret sauce to any tier list is opinion, but I'll try my best to explain my rank and back it up with numbers. We'll look at the amount of different title winners in the last 20 years in each league. Bundesliga is shaking in their boots right now. As well as if the variety of the winners has changed in the last decade. We'll calculate the average points distance between the teams in the top 10 of each league, the point gap between 1st and 10th, look at how many contenders there are in this title race this year, whether there is a team that is way ahead of the rest, a 2-team breakaway race, 3-team breakaway race, etc. We'll consider all of this, then like I said, the secret seasoning, the little spice in there, in any tier list is the stupid person's opinion who is making the list. That's me in this case. So make sure you leave your opinions below and don't get too emotional and take it personally. It's just a stupid list on YouTube, my friend. A stupid list consisting of the bullshit science that is tier list science. I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure you can't get a degree in tier list making. This league has already been sorted this season, as Real Madrid clinched the title with 4 matches remaining, which is not great for the rest of the league, really. Sevilla fell off hard, Barcelona had a horrible start, Atletico Madrid defended their title, as well as the Antarctic military defends their land. But we are seeing a nice group amassing outside of the top 4 that are banging on the door to let them in, one of which being Real Betis, who won the Copa del Rey. So hopefully this season under Pellegrini won't just be a one-off and they can continue to challenge the top sides. Sevilla have been a disappointment, and with Real Madrid having a 15-point lead over second, it wasn't even a 2-horse race, just a breakaway leader slapping their competition. I mean, I don't usually look at wins as any sort of metric, but it's crazy seeing 25 wins to second place is 19. That paints a picture. The difference between 1st and 10th is currently at 38 points, and the average distance between the teams in the top 10 is 4.2 points between them. Real Madrid's 15-point lead really dragged that average up, didn't it? In the last 10 years, we've seen just 3 different teams win the league. Go back 20 to the 01-02 season, and you can count 4 as Valencia joins in. That's not superb. 4 different teams in 20 years? Now, what I do like about La Liga is that most of the teams at the bottom are very capable of beating the top teams. And in most cases, they have some decent results against the teams at the opposite end of the table. But if you can't win the rest of your matches, then it doesn't really add to the competitive nature of the league. More so, it just provides some fun results and surprises along the way. Another thing I like about La Liga is that it feels like no single side is way ahead of the other when it comes to finances, at least in practice, as Real Madrid have slowed down their big money signings until this summer, probably. While Atleti spend a lot, Barca continue to spend, and their shakeup has made the league a lot more interesting. If Sevilla can find some stability, this league will be all the better for it. But for now, I can't go higher than a final grade of B. Not many different winners in the past 2 decades, but it changes often at least. There isn't some sort of hegemony like we see in, well, Germany is an interesting one because while Bayern have won 10 in a row, and that's a huge indictment on the rest of the league, the rest of the league is one of the more competitive leagues in Europe as far as how tight it is for the European places. At times in the past, only a few points have separated teams from 3rd through 10th. That's changed a bit this season, as you can see here, but it's still relatively close. But with all of that said, you just can't get away from Bayern's dominance. A league simply cannot be considered a competitive one, competitive in the purest sense in that anyone can win it, while simultaneously having the same winner over and over and over again to the power of infinity. This makes the entire league look bad, and while the rest of the league may be fairly even and the top 4 to 6 changes all the time, Bayern's dominance is way too much of a dark spot on the Bundesliga. The difference between 10th and 1st is slightly better than Spain's at 34 points, while the average points difference between the top 10 is great at just 3.7 points separating them. Again, another runaway leader making that average a bit worse than it could be. We'll see in other leagues with tighter races that it looks way better, but in Germany, the fight from 2nd or 3rd through all of the European places is typically incredibly competitive, with plenty of teams fighting for a European spot, and those teams changing year upon year. Beyond Bayern, the league is incredibly competitive. In the last 20 years, 5 different sides have won in the Bundesliga: Bayern, Dortmund, Wolfsburg, Werder Bremen, and Stuttgart. With how things have gone in the last decade, I am moving the Bundesliga down to C tier. The competitive table from 2nd down and the variety of winners over the past 2 decades being the only things that stop it from being D tier. I'm sorry, Bundesliga, but Philipp Lahm, former Bayern player, is right in saying that Bayern's dominance is hurting the league. Italy is a strange one. If we had done this list 2 seasons ago, as Juve were winning their 9th consecutive league title, we would have laughed at them and thrown them down into the dungeons of C or even D tier. But recently things have changed in Italy, and Juve's reign has come to an end. But regardless, when you look at the winners of the previous decade, just 2 teams: Juve and Inter. When you go back 20 years to the 01-02 season, just 3 teams. Roma didn't make the cut by a year, which would have brought us up to 4. But as things stand, just 3 different champions in 20 years. Not good. The lowest count thus far in this video. Again, it is promising to see that Juve have been knocked off of their perch, which has led to opportunity for Inter. This past season, we also saw Napoli join the fight with AC Milan, while the stumbles at the top have allowed Juve to get close to the top 3 once again. For most of the season, it has been a 3-horse race between Inter, AC Milan, and Napoli, which we love, though it looks as though the closing of the season will be a battle between the Milan clubs. A lot can happen still with 3 matches remaining, which makes this league incredibly fun to watch at the moment, let alone the amount of goals in this league. It's really fun to watch them. The distance between 1st and 10th is 30 points, which is the lowest thus far, actually, and the average amount of points separating teams in the top 10 is 3.33. Again, the lowest, and honestly, the only thing holding Serie A back from being more interesting is just historic results, where Juve has dominated, and there have only been 3 winners in the past 2 decades. Beyond that, given how competitive it seems to be now, and how close the teams are in the battle for the top 7, Serie A ranks high for me as far as how enjoyable it is to watch the season. I'm giving them the highest grade yet, a B, alongside La Liga, equally as high. France could be another one that suffers slightly, thanks to the dominance of just one team in the last decade or so. But if you go back 2 decades, the French league was a lot of fun, man. I mean, Lyon domination aside at one time, those dudes won 7 in a row. Remember Benzema at that time? Ligue 1 has seen 7 different teams win the league in the last 20 years. Of course, the worrying aspect is just how dominant PSG have been since QSI's takeover. They've won 8 of the last 10 titles in Ligue 1, which isn't as egregious as other leagues, but it's really not good either. But I think it's more how they have won these league titles, often running away from the chasing pack and winning by 12, 16, 13. I mean, they won by 31 points in 2016, but thankfully they have been closer lately, though still by double digits. Funnily enough, the difference between 1st and 10th is once again the lowest, another record breaker for us here as things stand, as PSG and last year's champions Lille are separated by 28 points, which is more embarrassing for the defending champions than anything, sitting in 10th, 28 points behind the champions, current champions. The average amount of points that separate the teams in the top 10 is just 3.1. Again, the lowest and the most competitive thus far in the top 10. Second through 8th are separated by just 10 points. That's pretty good. Of course, the main thing that is holding Liga back is the domination from PSG season upon season, as the gulf in finances is just unfair for the rest of Liga. But Monaco and Lille have managed to break up their monopoly, unlike Serie A and Bundesliga teams of the past. I see it as being in a similar place to that of Serie A at the moment, but what Serie A has is optimism for the rest of the league to compete for titles, while in France, with PSG's 14-point lead and their financial advantage that nobody comes close to meeting, it feels like Serie A is a step above for their hopes for the future and even the financial picture. For me, Liga gets a grade of C alongside the Bundesliga. You just can't have teams running wild like that still and be considered competitive today. Oh man, here we go. Premier League fans will say it's S tier. Those outside of it will go for much, much lower. Of course, this is my opinion though, and it's the only opinion that matters. And since I am the content creator, you all have signed an agreement to believe everything I say simply by watching my channel. That's how it works. I don't make the rules, but if I did, you would have all signed an agreement saying you would fall. Look, sometimes my brain goes on tangents and we just let it fly, you know? But we're back now. We're back now. And the Premier League certainly has the most money thanks to broadcast deals. And the teams outside of the Big Four, which has become a Big Six, have benefited from that as well. So many teams that are mid-table have a bigger budget than some teams in the top 6 or so of other leagues. It's a ridiculous situation really, but it does add to an increased competitive nature in the league. It's not fair for others. Outside of England and Spain, record transfer fees are not that high. For example, Luis Diaz would have been AC Milan's record signing if they had paid what Liverpool did for the Colombian attacker, and that says a lot. But anyway, let's look at some of the criteria points. In the last decade, we've seen 5 different teams win the league. When you go back 2 decades, you have 6, which is already better than most. The gap from 1st to 10th is the biggest we've seen yet, as England typically has a strong top 7, but the top 10, from City to Newcastle, a spread of 40 points. That's a yikes. The average amount of points separating teams in the top 10 is 4.4. A lot of that is from 2nd to 3rd, which is a 16-point gap, but there's also a huge drop-off from 6th to 7th. This season has been a 2-horse race. The last few seasons have been for the most part, which is more than many leagues can boast about. I think the variety of winners in the last decade or two, plus how they happen to have 2 of the best teams in the world going head-to-head with 1 point separating them again. Remember, this is all personal preference, but it takes it up a step from La Liga and Serie A for me. The first and only A tier. And there are no S tier leagues in my opinion. No league has a perfectly even spread as far as the top 10 teams go. You know, thoroughly competitive throughout the table. Except for maybe the Bundesliga 2. That league is consistently insane. Bundesliga 2 gets S tier. And there aren't any D tier teams except for maybe, I don't know, Olympiacos' domination in Greece is insane. The fact that Portugal has only ever had 5 champions in its entire history is terrible. Benfica, Sporting, Porto, Belenenses, and Boavista. That's rough. I can't look past leagues that have a sole entity dominating, hence why France and Germany rank low. Italy had that issue, but has moved past it and is mega competitive, while Spain has had only 3 winners in the last decade, as they rotate their winners well. And England has plenty of opportunity for teams to win, given all the finances going through that league. Many have in the last decade, though it feels like City and Liverpool could get out of hand with their domination of the league if the other teams don't smarten up. But anyway, there's my stupid list. No doubt everyone agrees with me, and this list is gospel at this point. This list is canon and cannot be argued with. But let me know what you guys think below. Looking forward to hearing your rankings. I'm Adrian. Thanks for watching this definitive tier list video that I actually do have a degree in tier list making, so you have to listen to me. But I appreciate you watching, guys. This was a lot of fun. We'll have something less lighthearted coming at you on Friday. We got to mix it up, you know? Take care.